Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this critical panel discussion on reclaiming the soil and combating desertification. As you all know, desertification and land degradation have become rapidly growing issues that directly affect many areas globally, such as agriculture, biodiversity, and human health. Combating desertification requires a multifaceted and interdisciplinary approach that includes goals such as sustainable land management and the conservation and restoration of ecosystems. In this context, today, we have gathered here to assess how wastewater sewage sludge can be used as an effective tool in the fight against desertification. It's an honor to introduce our first panelist, Mr. Ekrem Yazıcı, a forestry officer at the FAO Sub-Regional Office for Central Asia and the Secretary General of the FAO European Forest Commissions. Based in Ankara, Turkey, Mr. Yazıcı brings a wealth of expertise to this discussion. With over 25 years of engineering experience at Turkey's Ministry of Forestry and Agriculture. His unique professional background blends forestry and environmental law, as he holds a master's degree in environmental law. Since joining the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization in 2014, Mr. Yazıcı has contributed extensively to international forestry initiatives, forestry-related projects, and normative works, serving in both Turkey and Geneva, Switzerland. His deep understanding of a sustainable forestry practice and regional challenges positions him as a leading voice in the fight against land degradation. Mr. Yazıcı, thank you for joining us today. To begin, could you provide an overview of FAO's fundamental approach to the conservation and sustainable management of dryland ecosystems? Additionally, we'd like to hear about the financial and technical support FAO offers for dryland projects in Central Asia, including Turkey, and how does FAO ensure the involvement of local communities and integration of traditional knowledge in these efforts? And lastly, could you elaborate on the impact of climate change on drylands in Central Asia and Turkey, and how FAO strategies are adapted to address these evolving challenges? Floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning, colleagues. And it's a pleasure for me to be with you and to present our work in the region. And let me also just clarify one issue, important issue, that the desertification and the ecosystem, but desertification is a process, and we do consider desertification as a land degradation. That's why most of the work we are doing is focus on the desertification and land degradation issues. Although we do have a phase at the land degradation in humid areas, but the main focus in terms of the desertification and land degradation is also recalls the dry land. Before making my intervention, let me share a few facts about drylands, just to illustrate the importance of the drylands and why we need to really manage drylands. We cannot leave them as it is, because they do really provide important ecosystem services for us. I need to remember figures, otherwise I cannot give you the right figures. Drylands covers about 44% of the agricultural land, but they produce 60% of the global food supply. again, these drylands cover about 25% of the world population, but almost 50% of the world's livestock, and 27% of forest, and also, let's say, more than one-third of the important global biodiversity hotspot. That's why, and also 46% of the carbon reserves. So that's why the drylands are very important for us to really manage. If we do not manage, if we leave them to the abandonment, there might be additional problems, like in certain cases forest fire or floods, you know, big disaster. That's why our approach for drylands to address the dryland and land degradation process in integrated manner. We have a two-way of approach. One is to increase the resilience of the ecosystem under the climate change condition. In parallel way, we need to increase the resilience of the communities living in that area. So we need to integrate ecosystem management, ecosystem restoration with livelihood management. So this is the FAO approach. And as you know, FAO, we have on the one hand the main target to secure the food supply, food security, but on the other hand, we need to also preserve, restore the ecosystem and environment. So FAO using this approach, when I'm forestry officer, but in the low forest cover countries or drylands, I need to also cover land issues together with forestry. We do address forest management together with the pasture and cropland management. These are the three big landscape that we are managing: forest, cropland, pasture. For forestry, it's mainly restoration. We are dealing with the multi-purpose plantation approach to consider not only the technical needs of the forest, but also the needs of the people, the livestock. You know, we do use different species considering also the climate change issues. For agriculture land, cropland, we do introduce the conservation agriculture, limited tillage or non-tillage, crop rotation and silaging, several activities that we do try to improve the degraded agriculture land. For pasture also, we do integrate forest fodder and pasture management all together, because in drylands, the pasture is a low input for livestock. That's why they are overgrazed, so we need to consider all of them all together. This is our approach. In Central Asia and Turkey, we do provide technical support, also try to facilitate financial support. We are working with international donors like GEF or GCF, or the donor countries like EU, like TÜRKİYE, Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan. We do have a donor partners. We are trying to also support the countries with facilitating the access to the financial resources. As FAO, we are not finance institution, but we do have a technical small seed money for, we call it technical cooperation budget. So we do also provide technical support through our own budget to the countries. We did have, we did develop several projects in an integrated manner. We do not, as I mentioned, we do not focus on one or another. For example, we are now developing GCF project for Tajikistan to address this land degradation issues in a watershed level. We are, just example, trying to conserve the upland forest resources, also to restore the watershed area, pasture, forest and agriculture land, try to improve forestry or agriculture-based value chain, providing support, to also provide capacity building to people under the changing climate condition, to really prepare them the disaster. For example, we are supporting them with like agro-meteorological station for early warning about disaster, the issues. Maher is with us now. We are talking about the same issue. So we are working with the as a team. I'm one officer, but we are getting support from Rome, from Budapest, so we are working as a team, as a multidisciplinary team to provide all support. Another example probably is Hocam will talk about this. We are also developing a new project in Turkey together with the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change. It's about the reuse of the treated water and also the reuse of the sludge. So this is a new JEF project that Turkey team is working on that. They like to, innovative way how to use this waste or residues to rehabilitate the degraded land. So this is one example. We do have also different examples. We are also working with the countries to improve for restoration. We need to really improve their reproduction capacities, like forest nurseries. But when I call it forest nurseries, we do not only deal with the forest trees, but we are dealing with seeds, all kind of seeds, seedlings with the container, considering the climate change issues. Even we are working with some of them just to introduce mycorrhizal, techniques, improve the survival of the seedlings in the dry land, to improve the intake of water, the nutrition. There are different ways that we are trying to support. These are very general approach from FAO, how we are working with the countries. Again, for communities, we are, as I mentioned, we are on the one hand trying to restore the ecosystem, but on the other hand, we are trying to increase the resilience of the communities. We do have several capacity building or work modalities. One of is the field pharmaceuticals, that we are using such tools as a kind of rural extension mechanism, just to reach out to the local people, inform them about the impact of the climate change. For example, in Central Asia, this is a good example. It's a disaster, but we are coming in a culture. We are unfortunately learning from disaster. We have many proverbs. It's saying that, one disaster is better than 40 advice. Nowadays in Central Asia, almost every week there is a dust and sandstorms. In the past few, let's say decades ago, the Aral Sea problem was a faraway problem, even for politicians, because they said the degradation, but it was far away. But once they start to have a dust and sandstorms in the cities, it's not anymore far away. It increased the electricity cost, increased the washing cost, increasing the health expenses. So it's a daily problem. So we are also trying to really communicate with local people, farmers, to tell them what is the importance of the land, sustainable practice, how they need to really consider, how they need to use land, how they need to use water in an integrated way. And these are limited resources. So this is very good example that, this climate change is not anymore, or land degradation is not a faraway issue, it's very close, and we do really feel it in our life. So we are trying to work with the top level ministries or local level people just to address this issue. So this is very brief introduction or answers from my end, but maybe I will have a bit more chance to put additional inputs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Yazıcı. You mentioned about FAO's global support in technical and collaborative issues. As you mentioned, the disaster is not far away on the door. Actually, getting globalization throughout the world, I mean, we should think globally and act locally. So generally, we should think sometimes customized or tailor-made projects. I mean, there is not one only unique project that you apply or implement everywhere in the world. So that's important issue. Well, it's as you mentioned, specifically today we are gonna talk about especially wastewater, treated wastewater reuse and reuse in different sectors, maybe industry or agriculture. So first we should reduce water use. In the meantime, after we use, if possible, we reuse it. So thank you for your presentation. For those insightful responses, we thank to Mr. Yazıcı, which highlight the complexity and importance of addressing desertification through inclusive science-based approaches. Your perspective on the role of local communities, traditional knowledge, and the tangible support FAO provides will surely inspire meaningful dialogue as we explore solutions in the rest of today's discussion. Let's now turn our next panelists for their perspective. It's my pleasure to introduce our second panelist, Professor Dr. Azize Ayol, a distinguished expert in environment engineering and the Dean of the Faculty of Engineering at 9 Eylül University in Izmir in Turkey. Professor Ayol has been an active researcher in water and wastewater engineering, waste management, and sludge and biosolid properties since 1997. Her extensive experience includes participation in numerous national and international research projects, along with collaborations with leading research groups from Europe, the United States, Japan, and Australia. She also holds leadership roles at 9 Eylül University's research and application centers, focusing on water resources management and renewable energy applications. Additionally, Professor Ayol has served as an advisor for prestigious organizations, including TÜBİTAK, Science and Technology Institution of Türkiye, and continues to contribute to European science initiatives, representing Türkiye on the European Science for Research Infrastructure Environment Group. Okay, Professor Ayol, thank you for joining us. To begin, could you outline the key challenges and opportunities related to using sewage sludge for soil remediation? How can risks such as contamination from heavy metals, microplastics, or pathogens be effectively managed? We'd like to touch upon the issue of sustainability. Could you share insights into how sewage sludge can contribute to combating desertification and arid regions, aligning with broader environmental and sustainability goals? And also, it will be helpful to understand how long-term use of sewage sludge impacts soil health, soil microbial diversity, and overall ecosystem sustainability. What best practices or international standards should be followed to maximize its benefits while mitigating potential risks? Floor is yours, Professor.
Thank you very much, Honorable General Director and dear colleagues. It's a great pleasure for me being here. Last 10 days, most of the people around here and country is also talking about the world agenda regarding the desertification and soil degradation. Of course, this is a very critical issue from the perspective of food security, biodiversity, water quality, and carbon sequestration. And as we all know, around maybe more than 33% of the world's soil are moderately to highly degraded because of the erosion, salinization, acidification, and other contamination, especially the chemical contamination. And of course, this threatens our lives, and so the soil remediation become the more important, and the urgent actions should be taken because of the affecting the many parameters. I'm going to talking about them. From the perspective of the conventional applications or the classical approach for the soil remediation, in the history of the applications, most of the people and the engineers use the chemical treatment methods and the excavations. However, they are resource intensive and often unsustainable approach. Of course, the innovative approach and also cost-effective methodology and environment-friendly solutions should be considered to restore the soil fertility. One of them is the sewage sludge, but there are many applications and the actions to be considered when we applying the sludge to the land for different purposes, including the agricultural applications, land remediation, or reclamation purpose. As we all know, sludge is the byproduct of the wastewater treatment processes. Especially the biological treatment plants. I'm just concerning about the urban wastewater and domestic wastewater treatment plants. The sludge produced in these treatment plants includes the organic matter and essential nutrients, especially the plant nutrients, the nitrogen and phosphorus, potassium, to stimulate the plant growth and crop growth. Also the trace elements or trace nutrients, including the calcium and magnesium. When we consider these sludge characteristics, it's really difficult to epitomize. However, including this complexity, it's not a waste, it's a resource at the same time. We have to consider it for the sustainable soil management. So they enhance the most important factors when we are using the sludge for the soil degradation. It increases the soil structure and water retention, restore the nutrient levels, promoting the plant growth, as I mentioned before, and acting as a carbon source for the improving soil organic matter content. This application, the sewage sludge application, is aligning with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. I can, of course, increase the number of the goals, but the most important one that I want to highlight is the CDG 2, the zero hunger, because of the improved the soil fertility and agricultural productivity. And the CDG 13, the climate action, because of the carbon sequestration in soils, and also the life on land, combating the desertification and restoring degraded land, especially for the CDG 15. But as I said before, we can increase the number of these goals. For example, the CDG 6, the sanitation and hygienization for the water. So of course, it creates the soil, considering the soil properties, enhance the quality, as I said before. However, the great environmental benefits, especially reducing the waste volume of the sludge to be landfill or to be managed or handled in different processes, including incineration or the minimizing the waste amount, of course, includes the many challenges, the technological and economical challenge. And carbon sequestration, the organic carbon in sludge helps to mitigate the climate change, since it mostly carbon is stored in the sludge, and erosion control. The economic and practical solutions, considering the cost-effective alternatives and the local availability, especially the farmers prefer the fertilizers around the the land application areas or the farmers. And the relevance to arid or semi-arid regions, including the water retention, so it includes and stimulates the water retention of the soil, especially for the water scarcity area. This is important, point. And the certification compound, mostly the organic matter content is just restored to depleted the soils. The application includes many advantages, however, it also some risk. It has also some risk. We have to consider the heavy metals, for example, inside of the sludge, especially for the application ratios is very critical to prevent some accumulation in soils, so the posing risk to plants and via the food chain. Pathogens, another important consideration, especially for the untreated or improperly treated sludge, can give some harm because of the harmful bacteria, viruses, and parasites. Persistent organic pollutants mainly includes the dioxins and furans. They are also harm the ecosystems if they are not applied properly. The environmental concerns that our General Director mentioned, the microplastics and the micropollutants, they are very, very important considerations when we are applying the sludge to the soil, and also nutrient leaching, especially for the over-application ratios to the, or some mismanagement, misapplication to the soil. Another important issue we have to consider is the public perception and acceptance because of the other issues and some negative perceptions about the using waste in agriculture. It may hinder its adoption. And the regulatory and technical challenges, especially sludge quality and composition, vary from plant to plant, and it's also great variations because of the some methodology or techniques applied to the sludge in wastewater treatment plants, and regulatory compliance ensuring the safe application sludge and the monitoring part is a very, very significant issue in this consideration. So the key approach to prevent this risk to convert them to the benefits is some applications like the pre-treatment and stabilization techniques like anaerobic digestion, composting, thermochemical applications to reduce the pathogenic compound and increase the hygienic quality of the sludge. And monitoring and testing, especially for the areas, you have to meet the safe regulation limits and standards, and the optimal application rates to prevent the over-applications, the overdose, to minimize this risk in the application. Regarding the, reduce the risk or prevent the risk for the social acceptance, you have to, create a transparent communication with the education stakeholders, farmers, and the public about the safety measures. And intensive for safe use, providing the supports to the farmers for these applications, and also to create a platform for the increase these applications for the different regions. Of course, the health and the environmental risks are possible, but we have to create or integrate the advanced methods and also provide the robust regulations and public awareness to prevent this risk are very important cornerstone points for the sustainable soil management. So of course, we talk about this risk. Some of them disturb the soil properties, but as I mentioned before, if we apply these pre-treatment techniques or the social acceptance regarding this, the regulation or the monitoring, we have to increase these applications. Most of the techniques of course provide the great advantages, especially regarding the guidelines and regulations. I'm just very highlight the very important focus, especially for the best practices. Showcase the best practices in all over the world is very critical point. For example, for the best practices, the site-specific applications, control application rates, and also create the buffer zones, especially to prevent some safe zones between the water bodies and the residential areas. I'm just talking about the stabilization techniques, but there are different advanced treatment methodology applied to the sewage sludge. For example, some membrane applications, membrane filtration, thermochemical applications, the thermal desorption via the create the energy recovery and the resource recovery from the sludge. One application, for example, the gasification of the sewage sludge and the byproduct of the gasification, not only the synthesis gas, including the huge amount of hydrogen, but also they create the solid byproduct as a biochar. Is very important in the soil amendment material or kind of fertilizer, but it's more than the fertilizer, I can say. And of course, the global best practices is very critical from the perspective of the European countries. They use the sewage sludge directive. 86/378 Act, but the US also has the EPA, Environmental Pollution Agency, has some limitations. They have different classification or categorization, including the Class A and Class B biosolids for the safe pathogen and contaminant levels. Japanese approach, generally they use the incineration, but they have different applications to minimize the risk of the sludge application. In our country, of course, we have different regulations under the environmental law, but one of them is the use of domestic and urban wastewater treatment sludge in soil. Is first coming to application by the year 2010. However, it's also amended a few times regarding our the environmental protection process. Of course, the best practices or examples are very, very important to, as I said before, to broad this application in all over the world to combat the desertification and soil degradation. One example, I'm just visited that plant in Madrid, the nitrogen and phosphorus recycling. They just emitting the 30% of the nitrogen and 50% of phosphorus from the sludge, and they also reduce the fertilizer costs. in this application in that plant. And another application from Germany in Saxony region, they also applied the sewage sludge to rehabilitate the eroded agricultural lands, increasing the more than 40% of the the soil stability, and also the organic matter content and micronutrients. Another example in Italy for the green space restoration, they also use the sewage sludge in Rome to enhance the green areas, accelerating plant growth and reducing the irrigation needs by 15%. In Netherlands, the flower farming and soil quality, they use the stabilized sludge, the anaerobically digested sludge for the flower cultivation in Netherlands, and especially for the tulips, it's very famous. And in France, for the vineyards in Bordeaux, the sludge application increased the soil organic matter content by 20%, positively impacting the grape quality. And I'm sure Yusuf Bey will talk about the Konya plain, the agricultural productivity, but I just want to put its name because it's really important example, best practice example from our country. And another important application for the organic olive farming in Izmir, in Tire region, we just balanced the soil pH and boosted the olive leaves more than 50% when comparing the blend area. And examples we can increase from our country in Manisa, again for the vineyard development. It's also improved the soil water retention by 30% in these areas and accelerated root developments in this region. The vineyard is very important because we are just planting some specific grapes in this area in Alaşehir, Manisa. And Antalya using greenhouse farming for the some farming trials, also reduced the fertilizer cost by 20%. And Samsun, the hazelnut farming in the Black Sea region in our country, enhanced the, reduced the erosion and also enhanced the microbial activity for these hazelnut cultivation areas and farms. I'm just mentioned a few minutes for the TÜBİTAK, our Technological and Scientific Research Council project. We just, did this research about the 3 years on behalf of Ministry of Environment, Urbanization and Climate Change. We applied some lab scale and pilot scale studies to use the sludge from the different parts of the our country, including actually across our country. And also we applied some site applications in Menemen Plain. Here some examples for the corn cropland in this area. And there are some different stage for the irrigation and the mixing the soil for this application. So I just want to show you the first and second photo. The first one, you see the lower one is the without sludge application as a fertilizer, and the second one you see the approximately twofold higher than the first first photograph. Is the area we applied the sludge as a fertilizer in this site in Menemen Plain. We also use this one for the wheat land, wheat crop for this application. And of course, regarding this project results, we also work on some different, the application and different application rates for the regulation. As I said before, coming to force in the year 2010. We are still working on this issue, but it's very important, especially create the transformation of the sewage sludge from waste to available resource from the innovative and scientific perspective, but not only the scientific research part, but also the application for the soil degradation for different purposes, including the agricultural one, and also advanced treatment technology is very critical to just reduce or prevent the risk coming from the sludge application. This application is aligning with the CDGs and the circular economy approach from the perspective of the sustainable development. Of course, the policymakers must prioritize the evidence-based regulations. Of course, I talk about our country and some other countries, including the European countries, but we have to, deal this problem, not only these countries, but also for all over the world. And this is not the technical issue, but it's very important, especially create the ecological balance, food security, climate resilience, and even energy security. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Professor Ayol. There are some more to do to get full acceptance and approval of sludge, wastewater sludge to use in agriculture. Socially approval or technically approval. So thanks you for presentation and contribution. For that in-depth discussion which highlights the transformative potential of sewage sludge in soil rehabilitation, Professor Ayal mentioned about the projects and its role in addressing environmental challenges. Her emphasis on balancing safety with sustainability and aligning with regional and global goals provides a solid foundation for future collaboration. Now let's move forward to our next panelist to expand on these solutions from another perspective. Our third panelist is Mr. Yusuf Demet, a financial strategist with a robust background in central and local government administration and policy development. Mr. Demet holds a Master of Public Administration in International Finance and Economic Policy from Columbia University School of International and Public Affairs. His expertise spans analytical thinking, microeconomics, international finance, public-private partnerships, and financial stability. Since 2021, Mr. Demet has been serving as the Deputy General Director at the Konya Metropolitan Municipality Water and Sewerage Administrations, KOSGİ, where he's been deeply involved in integrating financial and strategic frameworks to advance sustainable land management practice. Mr. Demet, thank you for joining us. To start, could you provide an overview of how KOSGİ is using sewage sludge to support sustainable land practices in Konya, and how does it compare to traditional chemical fertilizers in terms of effectiveness, cost, and impacts on soil health? Additionally, how does KOSGİ address potential risk associated with industrial wastewater and ensure that the sludge used is safe for agricultural purposes? Lastly, we'd love to hear about the scale of these efforts in Konya and any feedback you've received from farmers who have adopted this practice. Floor is yours, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. and I would like to state that I'm pleased to be here in the UNCCD COP16 in Riyadh with you distinguished guests. Before elaborating on the measures to address desertification, I would like to provide a brief overview of Konya. As most of you might know, it's the largest city in Türkiye, encompassing 10% of the country's agricultural land. Konya holds a significant position in agriculture and livestock production. It leads the nation in the production of 9 agricultural products, including wheat, ranks first in cattle population, second in small cattle, and third in poultry farming. However, Konya is also the driest region of Türkiye, with an annual average rainfall of only 330 millimeters, compared to the national average of 575. This unique combination of agricultural prominence and climatic challenges makes combating desertification particularly critical for both the region and the country. To address this issue, we employ various tools and strategies. Today, I would like to highlight 2 key approaches: the utilization of treatment sludge, and if we have time, I'll talk briefly about wastewater reclamation. Treated wastewater sludge can serve as a soil improver material in agricultural lands, forested areas, degraded sites such as coal and mining sites, as well as in parks, gardens, and recreational spaces. We have a legislation in Turkey has been meticulously prepared by the Ministry of Environment. As KOSGE, we ensure that all our operations in this domain are fully compliant with the relevant regulations, demonstrating our commitment to sustainable practices and environment. The legislation outlines 3 primary limitations regarding the use of sewage sludge. The first one is raw sludge cannot be used in the soil. The second one is stabilized sewage sludge cannot be applied to the soil if the soil pH is below 6. Sludge is not permitted for use on soil intended for growing fruits and vegetables consumed raw and in direct contact with the soil. There's an exception here. It's the fruit trees is the exception. To comply with these regulations, sludge must first undergo stabilization. To achieve this at KOSGE, we utilize anaerobic digesters, each with a capacity of 7,000 meter cubes for this purpose. The sludge is retained in these digesters for 20 days in an anaerobic environment at temperatures between 37 to 39 degrees Celsius. By the end of the process, the organic matter content of the stabilized sludge is approximately 46%, exceeding the legal requirement of 40%. In the next stage of process, chemicals, specifically polyelectrolytes, are added to the stabilized sludge from the anaerobic digesters. This is followed by a dewatering process, where the sludge is passed through centrifuge decenters. It's picture seen on the left. At the end of this process, the sludge achieves a dryness level of approximately 22 to 26%. The dewatered sludge is then stored securely within the facility. Currently, our facility has a sludge production potential of 170 tons per day. Moreover, the Konya municipality, metropolitan municipality, Konya Water and Sewerage Administration is proud to be the first and only licensed entity for sludge application in Turkey. We obtained this license in 2013, demonstrating our commitment to adhering to regulatory standards and implementing sustainable waste management practices. The potential contamination of sewage sludge by industrial wastewater, as you mentioned, Professor Ayol, is indeed a critical issue for water administration. However, in Konya, industrial wastewater is not discharged into the city's sewer system. This separation allows us to treat and utilize the sludge as an environmental waste rather than categorizing it as hazardous waste. To ensure safety and compliance, the stabilized sludge produced at our facilities undergoes rigorous testing in accredited laboratories. In the picture, we have seen the results. In the first column, we have seen the parameters and units, and in second one, EU directive limits, and the third one in Turkey directive limits, and the last one is the measured limits. Measured of our sewage sludge, and we are fully complied with this specified limit values. When we look at the use in obtaining the utilization of sludge in Konya has steadily increased by the time. In 2014, it was around nearly 3 million meters square. 2 years later, it has doubled to 6 million, and by 2020, it was nearly 10 million meters square. In 2024, we continue to use sludge effectively for soil improvement, restoration projects, and grass cultivation areas. For farmers to use a sludge, a 5-step permitting process is followed. I'll just keep it brief. The first one is the announcement, the second one is application, the third one is pre-evaluation, the fourth one is analysis, and the fifth one is permit issuance. This comprehensive process ensures compliance with regulations and promotes sustainable practices in sludge utilization. We receive feedback from farmers. We have prepared a short video showcasing farmers' feedback and experiences with this initiative. If agreeable, we can watch it together to gain first-hand insights. Yes. When we compare the treatment sludge with chemical fertilizer, it has many advantages. Briefly speaking of continuous use of chemical fertilizer can degrade soil structure and disrupt nutrient balances, potentially harming soil health over time. In contrast, treatment sludge offers a sustainable alternative, enriching the soil with organic matter and supporting long-term soil health. This makes it a more effective tool for combating desertification. From a cost perspective, as you mentioned, Mr. Professor, treatment sludge is also significantly more economical compared to the chemical fertilizers. Additionally, its organic content enhances the soil's water retention capacity, improving water efficiency, an important consideration in arid regions like Konya. The use of treatment sludge further supports the principles of the circular economy by repurposing waste into a valuable source. To illustrate its effectiveness, I would like to present a photograph. It shows two crops grown in the same region in the same time. The corn on the left was cultivated. I don't know which one is the left or right, but I'll say the small one. Was cultivated using chemical fertilizers, while the corn on the right was grown with stabilized sewage sludge. The difference in yield is substantial. Moreover, a joint study conducted with the Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry investigated the application of treatment sludge in degraded pasture areas and as an erosion control material. Post-harvest analysis confirmed that pollutant levels in the soil remained within regulatory standards, further validating the environmental safety and efficacy of this practice. Since we are short on time, I'll briefly mention about KOSGE's second key initiative, wastewater reclamation. As mentioned earlier, Konya plays a critical role in Turkey's agriculture and livestock sectors, making effective water management more essential. To address this, we have launched a wastewater reclamation project aimed at reusing treated wastewater efficiently. This initiative involves doubling the capacity of wastewater treatment facility, allowing us to reclaim 146 million cubic meters of water annually. This reclaimed water will serve multiple purposes: irrigating 2.5 million square meters of green areas, supporting irrigated agriculture across 37,000 hectares of farmland, reviving Meke Lake. Okay, this one. And reviving Meke Lake in the Karapınar region, providing a crucial habitat for migratory birds. By implementing this project, we aim to combat desertification and enhance water sustainability in Konya. Thank you for your interest, and for further information and your question, please do not hesitate to contact with us. And before giving back floor to you, Mr. General Director, I'd like to thank all my colleagues who contributed to this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Demet. As the local government institution, KOSGE, Konya Water and Sewage Administration Authority, very great reuse of sludge in agriculture and other area. We are looking forward to seeing more examples and experience in the future. Now we move on to the next and last panelist. To conclude our panel, we turn to our fourth speaker, Mr. Okan Bahrioğlu, who serves as the head of the Zero Waste Implementation Department in the Ministry of Environment in Türkiye. Mr. Bahrioğlu has been instrumental in broadening the scope of zero waste initiatives, which are pivotal in Turkey's journey toward achieving sustainable development goals and enhancing waste management practices. Today, he will share insights on how the good practices under Turkey's Zero Waste Roadmap contribute to combating land degradation and preserving soil health. Mr. Bahrioğlu, could you start by highlighting key initiatives within the Zero Waste strategy that directly address soil preservation and land degradation? How do these initiatives align with broader global goals such as the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals? Additionally, waste management is central to this strategy. Could you elaborate on how integrating waste management principles such as reducing, reusing, and recycling can mitigate land degradation and improve soil health? Lastly, from your experience, what lessons or good practices can be shared with our countries looking to adopt similar strategies for land and soil preservation? We are eager to hear your perspective on these critical issues. Floor is yours, Mr. Bahrioğlu.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dear distinguished participants, good morning, everyone. First of all, I will explain what is zero waste. Then I will continue by the scope and importance of zero waste project and our good practices. And I will brief you on our project's achievements and goals in the context of zero waste projects. Zero waste, it is a goal defined as a waste management approach that includes preventing waste, using resources more efficiently, preventing or minimizing waste generation by reviewing the cause of waste generation, and in case of waste, collecting it separately at its source and ensuring its recycling. Zero waste approach requires products to be produced, consumed, and disposed of responsibly within a closed circular system. This means that we reuse or recover resources as much as possible and minimize air, soil, or water pollution. Here you see the timeline of zero waste. TÜRKİYE Zero Waste Project, initiated in September 27, has evolved significantly with legislative amendments, establishment of monitoring systems, and integration into national policies. The law on zero waste in 2019 is adopted. The project gained international recognition with its alignment with agreements such as the Paris Agreement and Green Deal Action Plan. Notably, March 30 was designed as International Zero Waste Day by the UN General Assembly in 2022. In 2023, the advisory board was established to further promote zero waste initiatives within the UN resolution. I would like to talk about the work carried out in our ministry within the scope of Zero Waste Project. Personnel bins have been removed. Sorting system has been used for wastes that collected separately at source, and biodegradable wastes have been sent to compost units. Mobile Civic Amenity Center and Civic Amenity Center deployed for facilitating waste sorting and collection in ministry. The Zero Waste Regulation determine the general principles and implementation principles regarding to the establishment of zero waste management system came into force after being published in 2019. This regulation encompasses guidelines for establishing and executing the zero waste management system, monitoring protocols, conditions for the zero waste certificate, and document criteria. Zero waste information system has been developed by ministry in order to enter data, create inventory, monitor the works carried out, make reports, and carry out the zero waste documentation process for those who established zero waste management system within the scope of bylaw. Zero waste certificate is being given to buildings, premises, and local authorities establishing zero waste management system. And 11 pieces of zero waste implementation guideline was prepared in 2020. With the training provided by our ministry and other organizations, 22 million people were trained on zero waste. Next, I would like to talk about the work of municipalities. Municipalities and institutions must implement a dual waste separation system, sorting waste into recyclable and non-recyclable categories. Local administrations are required to deploy mobile civic amenity centers and civic amenity centers, facilitating waste sorting and collection. Here you can see the year-by-year change in our recovery rates. We reached 35% in 2023. Our goal is to reach 60% by 2035. The International Day of Zero Waste is established through UN General Assembly resolution in December 2022 that Republic of Türkiye submitted along with 105 other countries. Türkiye played a key role in the observance of day with Her Excellency Emine Erdoğan, the First Lady. Pursuant to the UNCCD resolution, Advisory Board of Eminent Persons on Zero Waste was established. The board will meet to share success stories of national and local zero waste initiatives and disseminate best practices. Now, I would like to talk about a few good practices within the scope of Zero Waste project. The aim of these good practices is to encourage citizens and raise awareness on zero waste through various methods. Within the scope of waste earning project, specially equipped mobile vehicles are used to collect waste from citizens at different points, different places. Citizens accumulate credit points in return for the waste they bring and can spend these points in shopping. The other project is Zero Waste Point project. As seen in these slides, citizens can bring their waste to these fixed points and receive various gifts in return. Another project is the compost project. The aim of this project is to collect waste vegetables and fruits from wholesale bazaars and marketplaces in order to obtain compost as a soil improver. Within the scope of this project, 3,548 tons of grass and 3,750 tons of wood chips and 7,584 tons of fruit and vegetable waste collected from wholesale bazaars and marketplaces were used, and 6,445 tons of compost products were obtained in 2022 and 2024. Here you can see the image taken as part of project. And another one, a total of 4,000 tons of compost was produced in 1 year from waste collected from 35 neighborhood markets. These images are collected separately. Composted wastes in one area. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Bahrioğlu. Your work on zero waste strategy exemplifies how innovative approaches to waste management can directly contribute to land preservation and sustainable development. The practices and lessons you shared provide valuable guidance for other nations striving to achieve similar goals. Now, I would like to thank you for contribution to our all panelists and also for their insightful contributions from innovative waste management strategies and sustainable land practices to the transformative use of traditional knowledge and modern science. Today's discussion has provided a wealth of perspectives on combating desertification and promoting soil health. These shared experiences and strategies offer a strong foundation for collaborative action. With that, we now invite if any questions from the audience or final reflections from our panelists. Any questions? Okay, please.
Thank you very much for this lovely, actually, quite diverse, from compost to sewage, and the use of also how could you reclaim the desertification in your own country. My name is Dr. Mo. I'm come from Arizona, but I'm professor, but I'm also a CEO who is basically leading two innovative organization. So I'm deeply involved in all these things. My first question, given that I'm leading a soil living lab in Europe, we understand what is going on when it comes to sewage sludge. So I believe you mentioned there is a risk in using sewage sludge, and we have right now a lot of legislation also. This is in the United States and Europe. So how do you tackle the risk, specifically when it comes to most recent funding related to the polymer PFAS, specifically PFAS, because there is antibiotic also related to the sludge when it comes to sewage usage. And I would like to ask for the cost. I love what you did, but I would like to ask for the cost because I'm interested to learn the cost also. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the question. Probably this question goes to Mr. Yusuf Demet and Professor Ayol. Okay.
Actually, our main purpose is not to produce sewage sludge, but the treat the steez water, and sewage sludge is a outsider product for us, and the cost is not too high. Actually, if we don't use the sewage sludge as a soil improver material or a fertilizer or that kind of stuff, it will be a burden for us because we need to get rid of it in somehow. That's why the cost is not so high for us for this. Besides, we are selling this to our farmers with not in a very so much so much prices, but very little prices. But we are gaining some money even from that. I don't know if.
Maybe I can make a contribution regarding the sludge quality. In Turkey, we have very strict limitations. Even they are stricter than the European legislation and I'm sure from the United States EPA regulations, especially for the micropollutants regarding the hormones, PCBs, PAS, and France, most of the parameters is really low when comparing the other regulations around the world, I can say. And during the application, some pre-treatment methods and also stabilization, during the stabilization, some of them degraded. For example, some organic, the hormones and the other micropollutants degraded. So the important thing, the sludge quality. We analyze the sludge, the product sludge, sewage sludge, after the process by the accredited laboratories, and we prove the sludge quality, and we have also monitor them, the short-term monitoring and long-term monitoring. So there is no any risk regarding these micropollutants, for example, PFAS or the LAS, the linear alkyl sulfonates and others. If they are not, they meet the regulation limits, no one can use that sludge. So the certification is the best one, and also the short-term and long-term monitoring. Thank you.
Regarding permit process, I didn't I wanted to keep it short. That's why I didn't give any detail. But in the permit process, there's a committee, and the committee is receiving an analysis from both the sewage sludge and the soil. If they are complied with the parameters, then it's allowed. If it's not the case, it's not allowed.
Thank you. One more question over there. Meral Hanım, buyurun.
Merhaba. Okay, thank you. It's really fascinating to listen best practices in the field of zero waste and in our Konya Büyükşehir Belediyesi, and hocam, your presentation was also very nice to hear. I will just have a quick question with regards to this sludge application. Do you have a long-term monitoring, or do you also monitor the cumulative impacts of applying sewage on the soil over 10 years, 20 years, 30 years? I just would like to hear that. Thank you.
Yeah, some photographs that I show you, the TÜBİTAK funded project. We are still monitoring the soil, and also still the monitoring process is, going on more than 10 years, approximately 15 years. The important thing, there are some limitations for the heavy metals in the soil, the accumulation to just, monitor the accumulation at the 10 years. This is mandatory for all over the world, as far as I know. But regarding our applications, we are just, the monitor, the minimum plane, in the Ministry of the Agriculture, the TAGEM. We are just working together, collaborating, and the process is still going on. Thank you so much.
If I can make a short contribution. Maybe it was not heard on the video, but the farmers mentioned that when they use the sewage sludge, they don't need to use chemical fertilizer for another up to 10 years because the organic matter is in the soil is effective, and they don't need it anymore. Besides, our study is continuing about the long-term effects, but from the academic perspective, we know that there are some positive results about that as a soil improver material. Thank you.
especially phosphorus. We use the beneficially phosphorus. This is the different, the terminology from the agriculture and soil science. So the important thing, the plant is taking the phosphorus, especially phosphorus, is very slowly. That's why they don't need the more, the nutrients for the when comparing the chemical fertilizers. That's the point.
Okay. For citizens' life, health, food is important. For food, agriculture is important. Let's keep monitoring. Lifelong monitoring is important. Another comment and question. So, thank you for the contribution and for your joining us. I extend our heartfelt gratitude to the organizers of COP16, the United Nations representatives, and the government of Saudi Arabia for hosting this important event and fostering such meaningful dialogue. Thank you.